value proposition, I learned later in my career as to what that would do to help me get even get better. So what I had to do is I had to make enough calls to get enough appointments, and my numbers were right around 60% that first year. For every 10 listing appointments I went on, I got about 6 listings signed so that I could sign them. So that first year, I actually went on over 55 listing appointments that first year. And in order to get an appointment, I had to make between 60 and 70 calls to different people in order to, actually get an appointment. So I knew that if every week I made 120 calls, I would get two listing appointments out of it every time. So that way I could get one listing every week by making those type of numbers. Now, is it going to be different for everybody on this call? Absolutely. So you may start out a little slower, you may get a little stronger. And here's one of the things I found is that when I went on a call by myself, my success was literally a 75% or less that I would get the appointment, or I would get the actual listing. When I started to take another person with me on the call, normally it would be a female. I would take that person, and my listing success went from less than 75% to a lot closer to 95%. Now, why do you think that might have been? As to why that happened?
Was it because the other person had experience to kind of coach you through getting the listing?
That is true. I mean, basically, as you might guess, I was very business oriented in my calls. So if I was talking to somebody on the disc profile who was a big numbers person, or a high D or a high I on the disc profile, I didn't relate very well to somebody who wanted a human aspect of the appointment. And when I took another agent with me on the call, the other person actually related to my partner that I brought on the call. And on occasion, I would even take my wife with me on the calls. And that actually did the job for me as well, even though she wasn't in real estate. So I found that was a way to actually increase my percentages to be more successful. So just a thought, just wanted to make sure I passed it out there for folks to know. So obviously, in growing your business, you're basically lead generating for buyers and sellers. You're making seller presentations, you're making buyer presentations, and then you're previewing real estate. How many folks on this call, and do that again in the chat box, how many yeses and nos in regards to previewing properties, whether you do it on Zoom calls, you do it on office calls, or whatever it is you do in terms of how to make that work? That's a good. I see a lot of yeses out there. That's good. Couple no's. All right. So basically, and the reason I say that you want to preview properties, let's say, for example, you want to be an expert in a particular neighborhood. Wouldn't it be good if you knew exactly what those houses look like, if indeed you're working with buyers and you knew that they wanted to look at that area? You could always set up on showing time a preview of a property to go take a look at it. You could do it on your way home. You could do it on your way back, way back from the office, or you set it up at a time that you're most convenient available for that, because sellers want to get their house sold, and by you previewing, now you've seen what they look like out there. So just another aspect to success. We do that on our masterminds here at our office. We actually will, for folks on the call, if they have a new listing, we'll bring it up on the Zoom with about 25 or 30 people on the Zoom, and we'll actually review what those listings look like. And then everybody will give that listing agent feedback as to what they like about the MLS listing of that property and what they don't. And then they'll say, hey, is your price good or is your price bad, type of thing. So in running your business, obviously your job is to market listings, show buyers houses, negotiate contracts. Negotiate contracts is an aspect. I mean, obviously we know in today's market, there's not a lot of inventory out there. So I was talking to an agent earlier today, and some people who do door knocking can help identify new potential listings for buyers they're working with. So if you know a buyer who's looking at a particular area, you say, all right, Mr. Buyer, I'm going to go out and just do some door knocking. I'm going to knock on about 50 homes, see if I can find somebody who might be selling their house here in the next 30 to 90 days. And if indeed they are, I'll let them know that I have a buyer for you. So just another way to work on that. One of the key parts on this list is what's called vendor management. So that means that, you know, one of the things that Bold talks about is the fact that you want to put into your database vendors like electricians, like repair people, like plumbers, painters, landscapers, people who do septic systems, heating and air conditioning, people who do termite repair or do termite inspections. So these are some of the vendors you're going to want to have in your bailiwick to make sure that you have them as a point of contact, and you just give them a call. You say, hey, if I need somebody to do some HVAC work, would you be agreeable to me giving you a call to help a client get their HVAC fixed? You think they might say, oh, that's okay. Or they're going to say, no, don't do that. They're going to like it, as you might guess. Now, number 6, I don't know why it's number 6, but I always put number 6 as number 1 every time I run my business. I want to set goals before the year begins as to what my goals are for the year. If I want to do a transaction a month, if I'm part-time, how many calls does that mean that I have to, if I want to get one listing or one buyer deal a month, that means I have to talk to 60 to 70 people. And I probably have to talk to more because only 50% of the people I talk to about an opportunity are actually likely to do business with me. And then once you actually get a listing or you have a buyer, you go into contract, 20% of the time those deals fall through. So you have to know your numbers, and so that you could, if indeed your goals are to sell a house a month, how many phone calls or how many contacts do I have to make, whether it be a text message, whether it be a phone call, whether it be an Instagram post, whatever it is you're doing to generate opportunities, you have to make sure you do enough and watch yourself and actually track your numbers on a monthly basis as to how many calls or how many points of contact you had to make in order to know how to make your numbers. So, because if you're finding you're doing this and you're getting 2 a month and you don't want to work that hard, I suspect that's probably not true, but if you got 2 a month, you'd probably be rather happy. Obviously talks about compliance and risk management. This is where your office at KW is going to be so helpful to you in regards to how to make sure you're running your contracts properly and you get everything done. And typically every KW office that I'm aware of does a really good job with this to make sure that you're not missing forms, all those type of connections. So that's a big plus. You know, attend training, you know, and do all the things there to, you know, get coaching as part of the process. And pretty much every KW office also has great coaching and great training programs. And then manage your money. Because, you know, here's what I know about real estate agents. About 1 in 4 typically will have tax issues. So make sure you set aside money for Uncle Sam every time you do a transaction, and set yourself up on a quarterly payment plan. Every time you have, you know, a couple $1,000, write a letter to Uncle Sam and say, here's my check. So know that that's something you're going to want to make sure you get done pretty consistently. Okay. As you can see, they've highlighted the areas that seem to be the most powerful for you. So these are the things that actually generate money for you. So just know that that's part of the process. So what we're going to talk today a little bit about is about the purpose of scripts. You know, and scripts are, you know, when this class was originally written, it was a 4-hour class, which we're breaking into a one hour segment. So know that the scripts are part of the process of a successful real estate agent. So what scripts help you do? You know, it helps you to lead generate. You know, say for example that you have a list of expired. Now, obviously, in today's market, we don't have a lot of expired listings. I assume everybody would agree to that. However, if you take a look at some expired leads from 3 years ago, I'll bet you dollars to donuts, and I know this is already true because I have some of my agents working on that. If you called a seller from 3 years ago and say, hey, 3 years ago, you had your house on the market. Did you ever get that house sold? I'll bet you 1 in every 4 or 5 calls will say, no, we never got that house sold. And if they say that, what do you think a good script would be to come back? Here's the script I use in that regard. You know, in the last 3 years, home prices have gone up 26.4% in this market. Would you be interested in finding out what your house might be worth in today's market? What do you think they might say? So if your office has an ability to reach out to previously expired listings, this is going to be a great opportunity for you to chat with them. You know, and will 4 and 5 say yes, they did get their house sold? And if they did, then what do you do? Then you say, well, great, I'm glad to hear that. By the way, where did you move to? Do you have a real estate agent that you feel comfortable about with your new house? By the way, would you like some free information of what your house is worth in today's market? Because I literally sold a house to a guy 2.5 years ago. And just last month, we sold that house for $250,000 more than what he bought it for. He said it was the first time ever he bought a house and he made money on the sale. And this gentleman was 55 years old and he had owned houses for 30 years. So apparently every time he went to sell, he was in a down market. And he now sold the house, and now he's looking to buy another house in another month. He's currently in a short-term rental, and he wants to buy a house in 3 months, and he'll be looking at $1 million house next. And that's just by staying in touch and say, by the way, did you know home values have gone up 26.2% in the last year? So scripts also help you work out, you know, motivations, identify objections. And I always say when you do script practice, you also do some scripts in regards to objection handling. So just a great aspect to it. And if you practice these scripts, you'll find that the more you practice, the more confidence you have in yourself to handle objections going forward. Now, is there somebody on a call right now that might want to practice a script about a price objection in terms of, or a commission objection on this call? Do I have a volunteer? I don't hear anybody talk.
Hi, I'm talking. Hi.
Hello, Carl. How you doing?
Hi. Thank you for being here. I tried a script earlier today,
Okay.
and I was very nervous. It was just role playing.
Yep.
But I was really nervous, and I asked to be the buyer, and Mike was the agent. So scripts are a little bit right now. Actually, I got better as I went on when I was doing cold calls. As
Yep.
far as leaving messages and everything, I would usually delete my first message because I thought I sounded too insecure. Thank
Yep.
God for that little button where they say, "Are you satisfied with your message?" Um,
Well, and that
so
happens. Okay.
yeah,
So here's what we're going to do, Carl. I want you to be a seller, and you're going to say, all right, George, other than what you're charged, I charge 3% commission. Say, other than your commission, so your complaint is going to be that the commission is too high because you want to net more money. So I'm going to say, all right, Coral, other than commission, is there any
Corral,
other
by the
reason
way. Sorry, I
why
have to
you
spell.
wouldn't list with me today?
Um, I have to think about that one.
Well, I mean, just make the assumption that my listing presentation went perfect, and that other than commission, because another agent said they could do it for 2%, and I'm charging you 3% to list your house.
I would say, well, what are you gonna do differently?
Well, and so right now, I just want you to play. You're the seller, and you've told me the only reason you wouldn't list with me it's because of commission. Okay. So
Okay.
with that being the case, I say, well, other than commission, is there any other reason? So what I'm doing is I'm isolating the objection. That's what my first sentence does. It isolates the objection. Okay.
Okay.
So then I would come back with reasons as to why. So what I hear you saying is that you want to net the most money. Is that what I hear you say?
Yes.
Okay. And most sellers who work with me want the same thing. In fact, that's the exact reason why they choose to list with me. And here's what I know about the other agent. Their best part of negotiation is to lower their commission in order to get your business. What are they going to do with your money when they have a deal on the table? Are they going to actually help you make less money as a result? Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah, I think you want a bulldog like me who fights for their money just like I'll fight for your money.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. I want to see who's really got my back.
That's correct. So sign the contract and let's get you to Florida by the summer.
Okay.
So that's an objection. I mean, and that's just a way to handle objections. And there'll be scripts that'll actually have that as apparently I got muted in that case. All right. So I guess
Where
we're
would
back
we
in.
be able to find these scripts?
You're gonna find these at Ignite. I'm hoping that we have some of those in here. All right, so some of these scripts, like here's an example here. In this case, right, you're working with a buyer, and just go ahead and look around. And some of the comments you'll make to folks as they're looking at properties is that like maybe the lady or the guy looks at the big screen TV and they're saying, "Man, I'd love to have a room like this that I could put my big screen TV on." So you as the agent are looking at them to see what they're admiring, and that way you can identify the perfect house for them as a result of going through that process. Now, has anybody ever taken bold in this class? All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop sharing this screen. I'll come back to it. I'm gonna pull up another screen. Different screen. So now I'm going to share. Nah, it's not letting me do it. So we'll just get back to the screen. Okay. So everybody see the slide again?
Yes.
All right, very good. So with that, I mean, what we do in our morning, and your office has these as well. They have scripts from Bold that handle, expired listings. They have scripts that handle for sale by owners. They have scripts that, handle objections. And if you talk to your office or your tech trainer, I'll guarantee you they can provide you with some of these scripts. So know that that's a strong possibility. Okay. Now, obviously, some people, when they first get started, I know there's a lady named Izzy Marie Granados on this call. Izzy, are you available?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing script practice, Izzy?
For about 4 months or so.
Okay. The very first week you did scripts, did you feel comfortable doing scripts at all?
Not at all.
And now do you feel much more comfortable?
A lot more.
And it's just because on the script practice, and you do this with whether you're a partner or whatever it is you do, you want to make sure that if you're listening, if you're the other half of that script, you want to say, these are the things you did really well. Always give them helpful hints. And then you say, if indeed you did this maybe a little differently, or maybe you did some pauses on some of the where they have the 3 dots, this is how you improve your skill sets in that regard. So what you have to do is give scripts about a month and watch yourself grow from day 1 to the end of the month. And I promise you that you'll get better and better. And then what I always recommend to my agents after they hear the professionals, because like I said, I've been in real estate 17 years now, are my scripts going to be better than somebody else's? Most likely. However, I started out as a rookie as well, and I got better and I improved. And I've been doing scripts now for over 9 years. And I learned every one of those scripts out of taking a Keller Williams class called Bold. And you get some of those same scripts out of Ignite as well. Okay. So does anybody know what a limiting belief is and how it can hold you back from achieving what you want?
I'm guessing an example could be thinking that you can't afford something. Like
That
if
would
you're
be a
working with
limiting belief.
buyer.
That's correct. What would be another limiting belief? Maybe that you're not a good speaker, or maybe can't think on your feet. Maybe you had a bad. I was actually talking to an agent the other day that they the first time they used a for sale by owner script on a for sale by owner, the seller actually cussed them out. Say, what the heck are you doing calling me? I don't need your service. And they never made another call. Yet here's what I know about for sale by owners. About 1 in 10 are going to be like that. So as soon as they do that, I say, well, I'm glad I got that one done. Now the next 9 are going to be so much better. So then all of a sudden my limiting belief says, well, I can't wait for that call. As soon as that call comes, I know the rest of them are going to be much, much better. And over my career, I've probably listed about 50 for sale by owner homes that I've listed myself. In addition to those 50, about half of them, I helped them buy another house. So that's 75 transactions with about $10,000 in commission on average. That's $750,000 over a 15-year career. Is it worth making that call to a for sale by owner? Because here's the good news. Most for sale by owners want to get their house sold. About 2/3 of them will agree to work with a buyer agent. If you're working with buyers in a specific area, they'll work with an agent if you have a buyer that would actually want to buy their house. So no, that's a possibility. But the key thing for me when I went to a for sale by owner is that I went there to look at the house and to give them helpful hints on how to help them sell their house. Now, why would I do that?
You're building trust.
Absolutely true. I want them to feel confident that I'm actually doing, if I come from contribution, they're going to feel much better about themselves in the process. So I would typically, when I went to a for sale by owner, because they're not working with an agent, guess what I would find out about their closets? They had them stuffed to the hilt because they just wanted the house to look good, and they would never think that a buyer would open up a closet door. Well, how many folks have you guys worked with on buyers that look at closets all the time? And if those closets are full or half full or, you know, 3/4 full, the first thing that comes through their mind is that this house is not big enough because there's not enough space for me to put my stuff. Their closets are stuffed full. So I would give that helpful hint, and I would tell the for sale by owner, I say, here's what I know about buyers. When buyers come through a house, they typically, one of the things that they do while, you know, they're working with their agent is that they open up closets to see how much space is in there. And if it's not at least half empty or even less, they'll never buy that house because it'll never be big enough for them. So just that one little thing would help a for sale by owner sometimes get their house sold. And then what I would do, because the key for me was always the follow-up with for sale by owners, is I would send them a text 2 days later, say, hey, it was great meeting you the other day. Hey, by the way, there's a house in your neighborhood that just came for sale. Here's the new price on that new house. And then every 2 to 3 days, and every third, it would be a text one time, and it might be an email another time. And then it might be something that just to give them a phone call, say, hey, how's it going? Yeah, any more buyers come through? Hey, by the way, do you know that Keller Williams has a great Keller mortgage program that can help you save money when you go to buy your next house, in addition to helping the prospective buyer for your house save money on the mortgage? You think that might be helpful if the buyer for your house can save money on a mortgage? So just another way to make that work. Okay. So like we said, scripts build confidence in your job ability. They allow you to stay focused in the conversation. And the more you do scripts, the more you're going to remember it. So now all of a sudden, instead of actually focusing on what you're going to say, you then focus on listening to the conversation. And make sure you have your notepad. You say, hey, do you mind if I take notes while I'm here? So that way they know you're listening to them. So just know that's a very big aspect. You know, and like I say, it allows you just to have consistency in listening to the conversation as part of that mix. Okay. All right, very good. So how to use scripts. So, and a lot of folks who work out of my office know that I have a lot of these scripts memorized in terms of how to do that. So who would like to practice with me on a for sale by owner script that I'll do from memory? Do we have any volunteers?
How about
Who is first?
Gwendolyn?
Okay. All right, so you're going to be a person who's got your house for sale as a for sale by owner.
Okay,
Your first name?
Gwendolyn.
Gwendolyn. Okay, Gwendolyn. So obviously I picked up your number off of for sale by owner sign. So I know your number. I've already gone to my office and I already know that's your name because I've actually looked up the tax record. And now I know that who you are and what you're trying to say. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, I'm looking for Gwendolyn of 123 Main Street. Is this Gwendolyn?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Gwendolyn, I see you've got your house as a for sale by owner over there on 123 Main Street. And I was just wondering, when your house sells, where are you moving to?
Well, I plan to move to the Eastern Shore.
Oh, outstanding. That's great. And how soon do you need to be there?
By this summer.
Okay, well, that's very good. You know, now that you've decided to sell your house yourself instead of listing with an agent, what's your motivation on a scale of 1 to 10 to get your house sold? With 10 being the highest.
Okay, I'm sorry, George. Can you repeat that again?
So obviously now that I know you want to be on the Eastern Shore by the summer and you've decided to list your house yourself, what's your motivation on a scale of 1 to 10 to get this house under contract in the next 30 days on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's a 10.
Oh, outstanding. And why did you decide to list your house yourself versus listing with a real estate agent?
Well, I come from a law background and I figured, you know, I know a little bit about buying and, you know, houses because I purchased this house. So I figure I can do it myself, you know. And
That's
didn't
very,
have an
very
agent.
possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd love to, now I've worked with a lot of buyers in the local area. I'd love to stop by and just make an appointment to come see your house so I can tell those buyers I'm working with about your house. Would you think that might be possible?
Sure.
When's a good time for me to stop by? Is weekdays or weekends better?
Weekend is better.
Okay. I've got some time available on Saturday at 11 or Sunday at 12. Which of those two times work better for you?
Saturday at 11.
Okay. I'll see you at 11 o'clock. You doing any open houses that day or anything?
Hadn't planned on it.
Okay. Well, then I just wanted to make sure in case I didn't want to interfere with you getting your house sold. So I just wanted to stop by and hopefully I can give you some helpful hints on how to get the house sold. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Very good. I'll see you Saturday at 11 and you have a great day.
You do the same. Thank you.
Okay. So was there any pressure on that call for me to list your house?
No.
Did I get an appointment?
Yes, you did.
So basically the main purpose of a script, and that was completely a script, was to just get the appointment and set up the initial conversation. And here's what I know about real estate. The people who meet an agent for the first time, that person has a 70% chance of listing that house if they were the first person to be introduced to that seller. And then all you do is you don't go there with a market analysis, although you have it because you've done your comps, and then you're going to find out, are they possibly trying to get too much? Sometimes they're trying to get too little, and sometimes they actually mess themselves up by charging too little, and they don't actually net enough money. Because here's what the National Association of Realtors says about for sale by owners. They typically average about 92 to 93% of sales price to value. And then if you come back with your numbers in regards to what your percentages are, so you can say, when you get there, you say, well, I was looking at your price and it looks like your price a little low. I mean, if I was listing your house, this is the price I would charge. And then you say, when I do that, then you say, I typically get my sellers about 102% over this last 6 months. I've been averaging about 102% of list price to sales price. So I'm actually netting my sellers 4% higher than what they typically do with the average agent in real estate. So all that is just scripts, and that's all part of how that works. Okay.
I have a question, George.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you pulled up the for sale by owners information from the tax records.
Well, what I did is obviously if I've driven by a house and I see a for sale by owner sign, I take my phone and I take a picture, or if I'm part of a networking group, I tell some of the people in my networking group, or I tell my family and friends, if you ever see a for sale by owner, take a picture of the sign and take a picture of the address so I know exactly what address it is.
Okay.
So that's how I get that information.
But you said you pulled the tax records.
I'll then go into Bright MLS and I'll do a search for the owner of that on the public search for public records.
Okay, and that's that's inside Bright MLS?
That's inside of Bright. Yep, you can actually pull up who the actual owner of the property is. Then 90% of the time, it'll give you the full name of the sellers, and that's how you can address the seller and buyers.
Okay, because I've been trying to figure out the tricks to how to get the seller's information,
And that's how you go about doing
owner's information. Okay. Thank you.
it. Okay. All right, so obviously we don't have any scripts that I see that that makes this very difficult to read a script if nobody knows what the heck it is. Do you guys have any of that in your books at all?
We have the script book that was given to us in our resources.
Okay. Well, if somebody has one of those, because I don't have anything in front of me, would somebody like to read a first sentence of a script?
Oh, I do have them printed out, but it'll take me 1 second to grab them.
Okay. So right now you guys are still seeing the other, you're still seeing the PowerPoint presentation, right? So I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to bring up another screen. All right, so does everybody see this script here?
Yes.
Okay. So this is actually a for sale by owner script. So we're actually going to use this, and this is a script right out of Bold. Okay. So I need somebody to read, so somebody read the first paragraph and I'll have the next person read the second paragraph. Now, when you
I'll
see
read the
three
first
dots,
one.
you see three dots, you're gonna pause. So like if I see in that fourth paragraph, how long will you try to sell your house yourself? That pause is a 3-second pause. Okay, so go ahead.
Hello, and thank you for taking my call. This is Corel Cruz with Keller Williams Realty, and I work with many buyers in the area, and I was wondering, how can I help you? Just out of curiosity, where are you moving to? The
Okay,
reason
so
I
obviously,
asked, okay, sorry.
if I'm the for sale by owner, well, this is crazy. Here's a real estate agent asking me where I'm moving to. Well, I say, all right, I'm moving local. I'm staying close by. So who's next?
I'll go.
Okay.
The reason I ask is I have listings in the area and I was hoping you might be a buyer for one of my listings. You see, I call daily to find buyers for my sellers.
Okay. Now, obviously, if we're agents here and we don't have listings, we could also say, the reason I'm calling is my office has listings in the area, and I thought you might be a buyer for one of those listings. So that's how you can take this script and actually use it yourself as part of the mix. Okay. So who's next? Do the next two, since the next one's only one sentence.
By the way, when do you have to be there? How long will
By
you try
next
to sell your house yourself before you would consider listing with an agent?
No, I'll probably wait about 30 days.
Great.
Okay. All right. So now all of a sudden you've asked them, how long will you wait? Because prior to this recent 6 to 12 months, for sale by owners, 8 out of 10 listed with a real estate agent. Now they're having about a 50-50 success, because typically a for sale by owner has a full-time job. They're going on one website versus the 700 websites that we can put them on. And they're still trying to sell them house with the available time that they have, working 50 hours a week. So who would like to do the next one? By the way, KW is the largest real estate firm.
I'll do it.
Okay.
By the way, Keller Williams is the largest real estate firm in the world, with the most successful teams and single agents ever amassed in the industry. Do you want to work with the top real estate firm? Oh, and you want to work with the top real estate firm? This is why we practice.
Yep.
And you want to work with a top agent who follows the systems and methodologies of an outstanding company, right?
Absolutely. That sounds great. And who wants to do the last paragraph?
I'll give it a shot.
Go ahead.
That's exactly why I should come by your house. At a weak moment, you might end up with a weak agent, and I intend for you to meet an agent who many for sale by owners have decided to list with because I help them get what they want. When could I stop by and see you for about 15 minutes? I can look at your house and tell a potential buyer about it. Would you be okay to go around 3 o'clock or would 5 o'clock be better?
Okay. Very simple script. And your office has these type of scripts. So know that this is something that this will get you an appointment. For sale by owner, my success ratio was usually around 60% getting appointments. Every now and then you have a flipper who's doing it for sale by owner, and they're a heck of a lot more difficult. Doesn't mean you give up on them. That's where the follow-up comes into play. All right, so I just wanted to add that in there. So I thank everybody for listening in on that one. All right.
Hey, George,
Yes, ma'am.
what made the flippers much more difficult to get them to sign?
They are hard-headed at best. Good description as far as I could discover.
Okay.
I'm trying to get back to the PowerPoint presentation. Here we go. Good. All right, so we're back. Technology is a skill set that I'm fairly good at, but just not outstanding yet. I haven't mastered that 100%. Okay, so what I'm gonna ask you to do, obviously, is in your offices tomorrow or over the next couple of days, I would recommend you practice scripting at least, once a day for 15 minutes, and just do it 5 days a week. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. I promise you. So there's a whole bunch of scripts that you can do, and you say you pick a partner. Partner A stands up, follows the 6 steps. Partner B then does the same thing, and you always say what they did well, if they did this, they could do it a little better. Because one of the things I always say when you do scripting, you want to make sure that you mirror and match the person. So if the other person is from New York and they're speaking really fast, you want to go like this and go. You want to do the same thing. If they're from Texas and they're talking just really, really slow, then you've got to mirror and match that as well. So just know that's part of the process to help you out with that. Okay. And then you can do that via Zoom. You can practice those things. So just know that's a great way to make that happen. Okay. So at this point, I just wanted to do a recap or say any ahas we may have had on some of these scripts. Anybody want to? And everybody knows an aha is an agent helping agents. That's what an aha is in Keller Williams wording. So just know that's part of the process. Okay.
I need to
Any
practice
ahas that we got?
more.
You want to do what?
I need to practice scripts more. I'm going to try to do the 15 minutes, 5 days a week.
Okay.
I agree. I think it's a good idea to pick a partner and then just to become more comfortable with it.
It really is. And what I found in my office is that obviously if people listen to me on scripts, they're gonna say, man, he's just too good. I could never do what he does. But trust me, in the beginning, I was just like everybody else. I mean, I was just like as Marie said, you know, she was nervous as all get out when she first got started. And now she goes first. She never even worries about it. So she does really fine. I've got folks like Brent Brooker and Tim James in my office who were rookies 8 months ago, and they're getting ready to cap because they've learned the scripts backwards and forwards now, and they can actually have it almost memorized to the point where if a customer came up with an objection while they're on a listing appointment, they know to take the objection, to isolate it, make sure there's no other objections, and then handle the objection. So that's what scripting comes into play as to how that can be helpful to making that happen. So I applaud the folks who said this is a great way to make this work. And you know what Gary Keller says about scripting is that every day you start your day with practice. So you don't want to practice on your clients. You want to practice with friends and family in regards to how to do the language of real estate. If you're struggling in a particular area, that's the script you want to work on. If you're having problems handling objections, work on handling objections. You know, Ignite has some great, you know, you've got all the books, you've got everything you need to work with that. So just know that that's a very big part of success that way. Okay. So one of our goals to obviously get your career on fire is to add 10 contacts a day to your database. You know, and if indeed you're able to do that, for people who are doing this as a dual career, I recommend between 3 and 5 contacts added a day. While you're at work, you may be talking to somebody, you know, one of the questions that you might ask, you know, is who do you know who's looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate that I could call today? And if they give you a name, that would be a contact that you'd add to your database. Or if they say, you know, well, me and my husband were looking to buying a house here in the next 6 months. Is that something you do? And of course, there'll be somebody you add to your database. You know, and how successful are people with Command right now with putting contacts into your database and then putting them on a smart plan? We have some success people out there. Because you're talking to somebody that literally up till about a year ago didn't do anything with his database. I was a team leader of a team. I hired my own assistant. My assistant did all the work of loading contacts in my database. And now that I'm the team leader, I actually have learned Command backwards and forwards to be able to add contacts to my database, to put them on smart plans, and to talk to these people on a weekly basis to keep them in touch with KW. So trust me, if I can do this, I promise you can do this very well. And some of the training we have for this is nothing short of outstanding. I know every office has this training available to them. Okay. How many people on this call have more than 100 contacts in their database already? What I want you to do is in the chat room, just say if you have over 100 or less in Command. 165. Got a couple of yeses. Got less, not yet. Less. 250. Got 1. Got less. Got 227. Over 120. So we have an abundance. Now, here's what I recommend. You have a phone here, okay? If you have over 100 contacts in your database, how would you like this type of call? And here's a good script. If anybody would like this script, I'll send it to the Pikesville office so they can share it with everybody on the call. It's a add to your database script. You say, All right, Gwendolyn, I have you as a contact in my phone, and I was just wondering if you were to buy a home or sell a home, would you give me a call for your real estate needs?
Sure.
Outstanding. I'm glad I called because I'll text you all my contact information so that you'll have that. Because one of the things that I do for people in my database is I give them monthly emails in terms of what the value is for their home so they can stay abreast of what's going on. I help them with fighting tax increases on their tax bills for the value for their house. And I offer any type of service in real estate altogether. I can help you find loans to get your house refinanced. I just would be your real estate expert for any type of real estate need altogether. So thank you for listening to my call, and I'll text you all my contact information. By the way, Glendon, what's your street address now? Where do you live these days?
223 Main Street.
223 Main Street. Great. And that's still in Glen Burnie, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now all of a sudden I've got their name, I've got their phone number. If I have their email, I'll say, by the way, is it Gwendolyn at kw.com? Is that your email?
Gwendolyn _Miranda at kw.com.
Outstanding. So now I've got their phone number, I've got their full name, I've got their home address. And now from a contact within the command, they're a full contact that I can then set them up on a smart plan and start talking to them 3 times a month or 36 times a year. And for every 100 people you have in your database, you will get between 4 and 8 pieces of business out of that list of 100 contacts. If you start the process of talking to your contacts. And if I can ever get one thing through to everybody on this call, it's to build their database as correctly and fast as they can, because over this next 5 to 10 years, if you get up to 500 people in your database where you're talking to them via command, your business will be doing over $12 to $15 million a year within 5 years. Is everybody okay with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So that is one thing I would just recommend to no end in terms of how to help you be successful going forward. And that's using the technology. I mean, literally no other company other than Keller Williams has this type of technology to talk to their database. And it all comes from one platform. And not only can you, then all of a sudden, if one of those people then identify a particular home, you can actually send them a contract via DocuSign from your phone for a home that they've said, hey, I'm interested in writing an offer on this property. And that's how intelligent our technology is to help people be successful. And what we're finding is about 38% of the agents, they're actually having a 38% productivity gain from people who are using the technology to its fullest extent. So know that that's a real strong possibility going forward.
George, I have a quick question.
Sure.
That script, so you were saying if you have 100 contacts on your phone and you're brand new to, trying to get leads and connections, all you have to do is call somebody on your phone and say, and can you just repeat that? That was just
sure. The way I started was, I say,
script.
Hey, by the way, I had your name as a contact on my phone, and I was just giving you a call to see if you were to need a real estate agent, would you give me a call?
I had your name as a contact in my phone, and I just wanted to know if you found yourself in need of a real estate agent, would you give me a call? Is that something like?
Yep. And then if they say, well, no, I already have a real estate agent, I say, well, that's fine. By the way, if you ever need a second opinion, I offer my services 100% free of charge with no obligation. By the way, is there any real estate questions you might have right now?
Yeah, that's great.
So now all of a sudden you have them as a backup to whoever agent they're using. And now you add them to your database, because if you have by the way, I have your email at jim.com. So now you're just confirming everything you have. And you may have met them maybe at a networking event, maybe you met them at a dinner party and you were talking real estate at that time, or you were talking that, hey, you were thinking about getting into real estate, and just say, hey, I've gotten my real estate license and I just wanted to follow up to let everybody in my contacts know that I now work as a professional agent in this city.
Excellent.
And, 9 out of 10 people don't have an agent. I can promise you that's just going to be a true answer.
Please send out the script as soon as you get a chance. That would be really appreciated.
Will do.
I agree. And I was just gonna ask the question, how common is it for a person, I guess, to change their realtor? Because I'm thinking, just like in that question that we asked, if a person already has a realtor, which you just said a very different statistic. I would think most people will use their prior realtors, already had one. Like I've had the same person for all transactions all my life, and I would definitely always stick with that person. So I was just thinking, how often would they really change from who they used previously?
Here's what the National Association of Realtors says. 90% of people would use the same agent that they had the last time they had a transaction if they can remember who they were.
Okay. Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Yes.
I'm just stating the facts. This is what I know about what the National Association of Realtors says.
So they're not keeping in contact then.
Right. So
keeping a relationship.
now all of a sudden, now you're going to start talking to them. Now you're going to start putting them on a smart plan where 3 times a month, they're either going to get an email from you to say, hey, this is the value of your house, or they're going to get a note from you that says, hey, happy Groundhog Day. Because you can set it up in Command that on February 2nd, you're sending them a note saying, happy Groundhog Day, those type of things, or happy St. Patty's Day, whatever it is. So you actually can set up a smart plan to actually make it look like a text coming right from your phone just to talk to your clients. And you say, hey, Gwendolyn Miranda from KW. So pretty neat, right?
Yes.
So yes, I think that is probably the most successful way of getting business really quick.
Question, please.
Yes.
So how do you set up this smart plan? This is very interesting.
Okay, so your office and your tech trainers in your office can help you with these smart plans pretty consistently.
Mhm.
I mean, I literally I interviewed an agent today at 5:30, and I actually put him on a smart plan while talking to him. So literally, it took me all of 10 seconds to add him as a contact, put a smart plan attached to his name, and it's once you do it once or twice, you're gonna say, wow, I wish I'd started this the day I started. Also, if you have any Scott Leroy, I highly recommend the 66-day command exercise, because that will actually have you become an expert in less than 3 months by just following the 66-day game plan with command. So this is something that I just highly recommend off the charts.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay, very good. So obviously, as we can tell, we want to, lead generate, we want to, uncover motivations, all those kind of good things. And, why do you think it's important to learn or personalize the scripts? As part of the practice. Obviously they want us to practice. We don't have time for that today. One of the things they do want me to do is remind you, if you're making cold calls off of say a phone book, make sure you don't call people who are on the do not call list. That's something that's anywhere from a $500 to $1,000 fine, and can be even higher. And there's a lot of people out there who make money on just being on the do not call list. So know that that's a real possibility.
Hey, George,
Yes,
how do you feel about people when they're on a do not call list, but they have an email address? We can still contact them by email, right?
You can, until they tell you to stop.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously using command and connect, all those key things. So you want to create success stories. I've got so we'll do another, if anybody want to do a survey on this segment of the, if you can just take your phone up here, take a picture of this, or click on this code. This is just the first half. We're going to take a 2-minute break while I get the next part of the slides up. So if you guys don't mind just reviewing me on the script part of the lesson tonight, that would be outstanding. Or you can just click on the Survey Monkey. Okay. Hopefully you've had enough time to do that. And I'm going to go to the with the okay, we're going to value proposition. So since we only have another 50 minutes to continue forward, we're going to move right into our next segment. I thank you for contributing with me on that first half with adding some comments and all those different things. And like I say, if I had to start my real estate career over, I would have focused myself more on that database in the beginning. Because literally my first 7 years in real estate, working with another firm, they didn't focus on database. All they wanted was to, take a big chunk of my money. And I think my last year, before I left to come to KW, on my split, I had an 80-20 split where I was getting 80% and they were only getting 20%. They actually, since I did $1 million in gross commission income, they took $330,000 out of that commission, and I only got 2/3 of it. And if I had been at KW that year, I would have made 96% of my money, and KW would only got 4%. So 4% versus 33%. So really big ass number. That's the way I can describe it.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
All right,
Charity,
somebody's
can
talking
you
in the
mute
background.
yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. So we're going to talk about what successful agents ever do. Obviously, they grow their business and run their business. We talked about this last time on the other presentation. Now, and what we're going to talk now is about defining your value as a real estate agent in this industry. And everybody's going to have their own value type of statement. One of the things that I wanted to do when I got into the business, since I loved waterfront and I love water, and I had boated for almost all my life. When I was a small kid, my grandfather used to take me crabbing on the Magansee River. So I knew that I wanted to, if I was going to do real estate, I wanted to do real estate around the areas that I loved. So things that actually appealed to me very successfully. So when I did that, I had to put marketing out there that says I was a waterfront expert. Now, the agents in my office who were very experienced agents said, well, how can you be a waterfront expert? You're just brand new in the business. I said, well, the reason I can say I'm a waterfront expert is because I've boated these waters for the last 40 years. And literally, as a result of boating these waters, I know every tributary, every creek. I know the depth of the water from the water by boat. And I know how to get to all these homes, not only by car, but also by boat. And I could also take my clients, if they were looking at a waterfront home. I remember taking this one client to probably about a dozen homes by boat. And at the time I had a 31-footer. And when the tides were really low, it made it really tough to get to some of these homes. So you really had to know your craft and know how to do it. So this is where I knew my value was going to be, because I could help clients identify homes that would be perfect for what they were looking for. So that's where you define your value in terms of your aspects of your service. So has anybody thought about this as part of their reason for being in real estate? Any comments?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, some people want to work in 55 and over communities. Some people want to be like a condo person, or somebody may want to be a Baltimore City condo expert, you know, because they're going to know all the details of all the condos. I've seen like in various different cities where you'll have a condoplex, like downtown Baltimore. There's a 20-story condo right in downtown Baltimore on both sides of the Chesapeake Bay down there. That homes go from anywhere from 300,000 up to 3 million, and that's how you help the process of helping those people out, by being that expert. And then you can start doing your marketing to actually focus on those type of things, which is a real nice feature to that. So what we're going to work on real quick is that we're going to work on our purpose, what our value proposition, so we can actually tell people why we are a good value for working for them. And then our fiduciary responsibility is making sure that we know every aspect of contracts, whether it be from a listing standpoint or whether it's from a buying standpoint, to help them be the most successful agent they can be. Okay. So what is the underlying purpose of real estate? I mean, obviously it's to help people sell or buy homes, right?
Helping buyers and sellers meet their real estate goals and dreams.
That's a very good description. I have to agree. Now, obviously, people talk about a functionary versus a fiduciary responsibility. Obviously, a functionary is going to be, how do you go about the process? And then the fiduciary is, how do you do it 100% correctly so that there's no issues of any processes going wrong? And that's where a KW office is so helpful to so many agents, because they help you with both aspects of this service for your clients. So here's an interesting chart, if I can share that. So what this talks about is that helping people, you know, I don't know why they don't have the percentages here. Let me see if there's a, okay, nope. So in my book, they had numbers. You can see obviously the black here is over 50% for buyers. They want you to help them find the right home to purchase. You know, the blue area is they want to help the buyer negotiate the best terms of sale for that purchase. Third area is helping with pricing negotiations. And then there's a whole boatload of variety of other areas that are part of the process. So being a buyer agent is two things. And here's how I work. Here's how I personally work with buyers, because I don't love working with buyers, but I've helped numerous people buy homes. I've probably helped over 100 people, helped 100 buyers buy homes over the course of my lifetime. And I do it with personal friends and family. That's when I do it now. I don't do it any other time anymore. But I had a really good friend of mine who had been out in Toledo. He wanted to live close down to Ocean City. So I had him do a drive-by before he identified which houses he wanted to see. So on Saturday, we went out and we looked at 10 houses that Saturday. And after we went to each house, we said, well, how does this house compare to the last house? And then we would start ranking them in order, you know, one to 10. And then after every house we saw, we would say, all right, how does this house rank in terms of the last three? And then when we got to the last house, we'd say, all right, now let's take a look at the list. We've looked at 10 homes. Would you rank these as the top 10? And what are the top 4 that you like as part of the process? So I said, well, here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, we're going to come back and we're going to look at the top 4 houses again. So I'm going to give you a second opportunity to see these houses. Is that something you're okay with? And then I would start with house number 4 and I would work my way up to number 1. Which house do you think this couple bought when we were done at the end of that day? All right, this is a multiple choice answer. It's 1 through 4 is the answers.
1,
Number 4.
They actually bought number 1. And it was crazy. It was every time they went to a house, they said, oh yeah, I really like this house. They'd get to the next house. They said, oh yeah, I like this much better, because they remember reviewing them the day before. And as they got to number 2, oh yeah, this is going to be the one. Then we got to number 1. They said, yep, that family room does it. I want this house. And that's how they ended up buying that house. And they've now been there in that house for about 4 years. And they, to this day, they keep talking about how we went through that process to help them identify the right house. And what I did, I thought was most successful, is that I had them actually do drive-bys first, so that way they can identify, is the house on a lot that they like? Is the house, so that way they know that if they bought that house, they would feel comfortable with where that house was located on the street. You know, was it on a main street? Was it on an alley? Was it back in a cul-de-sac? So that's what they ended up. That's how they ended up buying their house. And they were real close to a golf course, but they weren't really on the golf course, so he would never get hit with golf balls. Unlike the second house I bought back in 1981, I bought a house on the golf course, and I said, well, this is at least 250 yards off the tee. And then when I moved in, I found out they had 4 more tees in front of it. And my house must have got hit about 100 times. So here I am, a golfer, buying a house that gets bombarded with golf balls. I thought that was fairly funny at the time. So that's what buyers want in terms of a house. You know, and here's what they want in terms of their reputation. You know, they want an agent with a good reputation. Does that reputation have to be that they're just a good, honest person? I mean, that could be, that's a part of the process. You know, they want somebody who's honest and trustworthy, you know, and if an agent is a friend or a family member, that's the number one reason they go with those folks. So this is why, if you call people in your phone contact list, you have a reason why you had them in there, because of some reason you added them when they were on there. And that's why you want to make sure you stay in touch with those people on a regular basis. And then your knowledge of a neighborhood is another big aspect. And here's what I say in regards to that real quick. One of the ways that I was actually able to generate a lot of listings at a particular neighborhood, I bought my first investment home in an area called, it was in Pasadena, and it was a townhome community, had like 618 homes in it. And of those 618 homes, over a third of them were owned by folks who were landlords. So they actually, over a third of the houses were rented. So I knew that for me, that was a great home to buy for rental purposes. And I also took a look at, for homes that were for rent in that area, what was the average days on market for a home being picked up by the next renter? And I found that that particular home in that particular neighborhood, the average days on market was 7 days or less. So I knew that if I had a property available for rent, the chances of me getting it rented were extremely good, and they would probably rent very fast. I've now owned that home for about 8 years. And literally, I think I've had a grand total of 14 days where somebody did not live in that house. So that's been a great value for me. And that's just because I knew that I knew enough about the neighborhood to make that work. Okay. Any thoughts on that as to that type of buyer value that you bring to the table for buyers out there? This is what I'm waiting for comments. I won't go on until somebody talks.
I think it is valuable to have those statistics to buyers and to be able to give them that information. One thing I was trying to figure out is, where are a lot of these statistics? Is it all like an MLS Bright? I wasn't sure. I found basic things like how to tell a person, like a new buyer, how many days something's been on the market, or like the average time something is selling. But where am I going for the most part for all these statistics? Is it just MLS?
MLS is where I get the bulk of my information. So that is by far the best way to get that information. Would you like me to share my Bright MLS and show you guys how to do that real fast?
Yes, please.
Please.
Okay. All right, so let me share another screen.
The information we were just looking at, though, came from NAR, from the National Association of Realtors. And if you go to their website and go to a search bar, you can find these graphs and it will have the percentages in it.
Okay, thank you.
Does everybody see me bringing up right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
These are all really powerful tools. I think the hard part is just being new and figuring out how to use them and navigate, like to get the best bang for your buck.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up. So that area that I was looking at. So if I do residential sale, I'm going to look at a 6-month history of homes that are selling in a particular area. So I'm going to say in my subdivision, I'm going to say Elizabeth Landing as that area. I'm going to say Anne Arundel County. Okay, so now what I'm doing is, I know this is Anne Arundel County. So I'm going to pull the county up. I know the zip code is 21122. And then I want to look at active under contract, pending, and close. So now what I'm doing is I'm doing a 6-month analysis of homes in Anne Arundel County.
I think you have the wrong zip code in.
Yeah, the zip code is actually
Got
Essex.
Yeah.
Good call.
21122 is what you
All right,
said.
very good. So I can actually take that out of there. So I've got. So if I do like a 360 search, that'll give me the last year. So I've got 15. So now as I look at this particular area, so I can already tell that if over the last 15 months, now, if I were to buy a home in this area, I know for a fact that I've got one coming soon that's listing at 300,000 and everything else is closed. I could actually do a real quick market analysis real fast and do a CMA and just do a what's called on a page on the comparables. If I do a CMA brief real quick, I can actually go to this and I can take a look at this CMA and I'll know for a fact that of all these homes in here, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. That help? Okay, so now here's what I know. I know that the average house sells in 16 days. I know that the average list price was 281. The average sales price was 285. And here's what I know about this particular house. You know, the average house is three bedrooms, one and a half baths. So they're now selling for 285. I could take the same search. And if I go back to here,
Did we lose him?
Yeah.
are you still there? All right, let me pull it back up.
Oh, okay. Thought we had lost you, George.
Yeah, good try though. You couldn't do it. Luckily, I didn't hit a close button, so that was a plus. All right, so now I've got the screen back. Is that good?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm gonna look at that CMA again one more time. So here's what I know about the area. Here's the summary. It tells me the average days on market is 16 days. The high sales price was 304. The low was the low was 236. And I know 14 homes have sold over the last year. So now that I know that as part of the mix, now what I want to do is I want to go into this and I want to find out what the leases are for this particular area. So now if I go to residential lease and I look for the same neighborhood, Elizabeth Landing, and now I'm becoming an expert myself in this particular area. Now you'll see in here that it has, some people have it as Elizabeth Landing, some people has it as Elizabeth. So you actually have to include both because there's people out there that have done it incorrectly, which you'll find in real estate happens a lot. Agents making mistakes. And we have to, as agents looking for homes, we have to know that this is where we want to be in terms of, now we look at pending and closed for leases. And now I want to look at the last year, just like I looked at the last thing, so 365. And now it tells me I have a total of 6 leases that have occurred in this area. So now I can buy a house for $300,000. I can do the same CMA again in terms of value real fast, do the comparables. Obviously, I don't want the whole thing, so I just want the one page. CMA brief, go to finish. Look at the view of the CMA. And now here's what I determined.
So,
So we got one active for rent for $2,100 a month, which is good news because currently I'm charging my renter $1,900. So now it's time to get an increase. Here's what the things have closed over the last last 12 months. I know Holton Harbor is listed for 2,200, 3-bedroom. Obviously it rented for 2,200. So that's good news. And here's the average days on market, 8 days. You can tell every one of these rentals got done in less than 10 days. So is this a great neighborhood to tell people about in terms of how to make that work? Any comments on that?
I need a step-by-step on how you got to your comparables here because I like it.
Yeah.
This is great. It's good information.
Well, it's the more you work with Bright and the better you get at it. And I highly recommend, because Anne Arundel County or your local counties do classes on Bright. I highly recommend you take them and learn this as best you can. This is how you become an expert for your value presentation and how you become the expert of choice for people that want to do business with you.
George, before you leave there, could you show them smart charts?
What smart charts? These particular CMAs?
In Bright. You're not familiar with it?
Not off the chart now.
Okay, smart charts are statistics countywide, zip code wide, neighborhood wide that you can get for this year, this month, 5 years.
Nice.
It's a great tool. And it's if you go back to your main screen and go to market across the top, clients,
Okay.
listings, financial market, and over to your right, you'll see Remind
Smart
Pro
charts.
and then Smart Charts, and then open Smart Charts. And if you want to look for Anne Arundel County, you haven't signed up for it. Okay.
Nope.
All right. It's a
I
great
longer, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great tool. If they can go back to their offices and see if they have
Yep.
Smart
So
Charts.
that's a very
Through
good
their-
suggestion. So I recommend people do that. I'll probably do this tomorrow. So just a great aspect to how that works. Okay. See if we can get back to where I was. Nope, it's not the one. I'll eventually find it. That's the good news. We have a lady on the call today who helps me with my computer quite often, Miss Kalani. So she
I'd probably be helping you now if I was still in the office.
I figured that much. All right, so we'll get back there eventually. All right, so in terms of value, any thoughts on terms of how to help you with to determine? So what I just discovered there with you right there was just a way for you to make that work. So I'm just going to go to. I'm gonna go back. I know where I can do better to get this done. All right, so any comments on that type of value right now? Okay. Always have a backup, so I know where my backup is. Does everybody see that screen ignite? Or no yet?
No,
Not
sir.
yet.
No.
What? I'll find it now. Now that I have it up, I know how to get it now. Okay. So success, correct?
Got it.
Yes.
Outstanding. Okay. So we talked about this already, what buyers want, buyers value, what sellers want. So obviously we just covered some of the areas in terms of how you determine value real quick. Help seller buyer market, buy homes, price homes competitively. You're doing a fiduciary duty of how to help sellers net the most money. And this is where knowing what your numbers are in terms of value. And if you don't have the numbers, each office does a sheet of how your office compares to the rest of the market. So use those numbers when you're actually doing work in terms of how you can determine why they should choose Keller Williams and you versus using a competitor. Now, just as a word to the wise, my first year I sold 31 homes. I'll guarantee you over 6 of those listings I shared with another agent because I was not an expert in a particular area or a particular waterfront home or a particular type of community. And I would actually research in my office who that agent of specialty was. And I'd say, hey, would you agree to go with me on a listing call in a particular area? And if that's the case, I'll split the deal with you 50-50 until I then became an expert in that area. And I always said that it was always better to get 50% of $10,000 than it was to get no percent of all $10,000. And literally that helped me very much. My first year in the business was actually using the resources within my office because they weren't getting the leads to get the opportunities. I used their skill sets to help me make money. And that was my main purpose of that job, was to help them make that happen. Okay. So say, for example, you have an opportunity for $1 million property and you're not a luxury expert. Does it make sense to hook with somebody in the office who is that luxury specialist? So just know that's a very key aspect to making that happen. And what sellers want, the reputation of the agent. That's why taking somebody with you who may be that specialty or expert, that's a great way for why they did it. The agent is honest and trustworthy. You determine how honest and trustworthy. If you're always honest and trustworthy, they'll know. It'll come through to them very well. And like I say, close to 25% of homes are listed with a friend or a family member. So if you have enough family members and friends, you're going to get enough business to make that happen as well. You know, agent experience, that's where you have to have if you have a mentor in your office, or if you have a coach in your office, you say, hey, between me and my coach, we've got 10 years in the business and we've sold over $100 million in homes. My first year in the business, I worked with a mentor who literally had been in the business 20 years, and he had sold $100 million of homes. So I'd go out on calls, and here I am, a 50-year-old guy going out saying, yeah, between me and the guy I'm working with, we've been in the business 20 years and we sold $100 million in homes. I took 31 listings that year using that line. So it works. You got to know who your competitors are. Obviously, if you're in an area, and obviously the Maryland, DC area is heavy with competitors. We have there's probably over 200 brokerages within a 10-mile radius of the Annapolis area. So just know that everybody and their brother is competing with you to get business.
Hey, George, what was that line that you used in your first year? You said you got 31 listings.
Yep.
And you had a mentor that you went around with.
Well, actually, he didn't actually go with me on the calls. I just said, I have a gentleman in my office who works with me, and between the two of us, we've been in the business 20 years, and between the two of us, we've sold over $100 million in homes. And he's going to make sure that I do everything right, and I'm going to make sure he does everything right.
That's really good. I like that.
Yeah,
That is fantastic.
that's why we need a mentor.
It's a true statement. I mean, that's what I did my first year. And if indeed you do have a mentor in the office, they're going to make sure you do it right. That's the good news. So just know that that's what you have to do when you get started, until you feel good enough about yourself that you now can say, hey, I've now been in the business 5 years. I've sold my first 5 years in the business. I sold over $50 million in homes my first 5 years. So know it's possible. And you just have to make sure that you have enough areas of where you're looking for business. I always, every year I got, like I say, between 4 and 8 for sale by owners that listed with me. I would also make expired calls. And some of the people on my call know that I practice expired listing calls every Monday from 8:30 a.m. to 8:45, where we call up expired people to find out, are they going to resell their house? Because they most likely have been on the market for 6 or 12 months and they never got their house sold. So just a great way to make that happen. So technology is going to be a major advantage for us at KW. So know that this is a great way for you to help your sellers. If they're thinking about selling in 3 to 6 months, you want to start setting them up on smart plans and make sure that every 2 weeks, you're giving them a valuation of what's happening in their community within a 1-mile radius. You can actually, on your smart plans, actually do a touch with them every 2 weeks, and you can outline the area that you want to make sure you send them a valuation so they can always know what's going on. So that's where you want to really stay in touch with your technology people in your office. And when they have training on these particular things, listen to them backwards and forwards so you get this and you've mastered this part of it. And your answer is, I don't know how to do it. It's too complicated. The correct answer is that I have not mastered that as of yet. And then when you eventually can say, I finally got it, you're going to keep learning. So just know that the learning never stops. Now, obviously, the activity with having your value proposition, once you've actually identified what your value proposition is, whether it's waterfront homes or whatever it might be, you want to make sure that you push that message forth and that you're consistent with it. Because then all of a sudden, then you can have a 8 to 10 second elevator speech that says, hey, my name is George McDowell. I sell homes around the Magothy River. If you know anybody looking to buy or sell waterfront homes, give them a call. Give me a call. So I've already told them I'm a waterfront expert, and I can help them or anybody else they know about waterfront homes. And I've probably sold now probably close to $100 million of waterfront homes in my career. So delivering the value, obviously you're distinguishing yourself with the information you know. That's why going through that bright backwards and forwards for yourself, the more knowledgeable you get with knowing bright backwards and forwards is the key to your success with going forward. And the key to getting a repeat business is creating a stellar experience for either your seller or your buyer, and making sure you have that in play to make that work very well. Okay, any questions on that I can answer? Any ahas that we can review at this point?
I thought I knew a lot about the MLS until just about 10 minutes ago. I had no idea that we were able to see what people were getting for rent monthly in certain areas. So I really do appreciate that.
Same here.
Especially in my area, because I'm in Ocean City and obviously we have a lot of that going on down here.
Yes, you do. You have a lot of that going on down there. That's a phenomenal area to become an expert in really quick. And then what I recommend, because what I did for many years is that I actually would post that on Facebook and let everybody know in my Facebook community. And I now have over 4,000 Facebook friends. I would say, hey, by the way, in Elizabeth Landing last month, over the last 90 days, X amount of homes sold. The average sales price was this number. The average list price was this number. Homes sold for 102% of sales price to list price. The average days on market was 18 days. And I would just give information. So it's, when you give, you get. And always know that's always going to be true. So just keep that going forward with that. So like I say, our goal for everybody is to continue to add 10 contacts. If it's 10 contacts a week or if it's 10 contacts a day, you determine what you're capable of doing. And then what I recommend you do is that wherever you think you're capable of, double it. So, and in fact, if you ever take bold, know that ahead of time. They're going to say, all right, what's your goals? The instructor is going to say double it. So just know that that's a way to actually make yourself going. And here's what happens. Let's say you don't able to double, but you actually, instead of doing 5, you do 8. You think that's better than just doing 5? Every day of the week. So obviously working with sellers and buyers and having a value proposition, because that value proposition comes into real big play when you're on that listing appointment. So no, that's a big aspect of success right there. Okay. Identifying objections, isolating the objections, and then handling the objection. Now here's another reason why you want to isolate the objection, because there'll be occasions where you don't remember the exact answer to the question. So if you actually repeat what they told you their objection was, it gives you an extra 5 or 10 seconds to think in regards to what the answer is. And you say, well, I don't have the answer for that right this moment, but I promise you, I'll get that to you within 24 hours. Are you okay with that? One of the things I never recommend, never guess and never give a wrong answer. It's much better to say, I don't know the answer right this moment, but I promise you within 24 hours, I'll have that answer. Are you okay with that? So just a great way to make that happen. Obviously, they want us to role plan script with taking 2 4-hour classes into 2 hours. It doesn't give us a lot of time for that. Would anybody like to handle any objection handling in terms of getting listings or buyer appointments? Does anybody have any trouble getting a buyer agency agreement signed?
I actually signed my first one today.
You want to know how I handle buyer agency agreements?
Sure.
Who would like to role play with me? All right, this is where I look for a volunteer. I don't.
I'll do
continue-
it.
Okay, very. Who am I speaking with?
Donna
All right,
Moffett.
Donna. Good to talk to you.
Yes.
So Donna, by law, I have to show you this buyer agency agreement. The state of Maryland has required that I show this to you before I show you a house. And here's what I know, Donna. 100% of all the people that I've ever sold a house to have signed this agreement. Sometimes we sign it just for this house. Sometimes we sign it for 6 months. If indeed you sign this agreement today, I can work for you as a buyer agent. If you don't sign this today, I'm okay with that, but I have to represent the seller. What would you like to do?
Well, I want you to represent me, but what's my
Let's-
commitment?
Let's sign the agreement for today and let's get you the best house possible. Is that good?
That's good.
Anybody like that script?
Yes, can you send that one,
Yes.
George? Please.
I
You have all
will-
the best scripts.
I will get that to you, yes. And Lily, it's a statement of fact, because every time somebody buys a house from me, that has to be part of the contract that you have to send to compliance in order for you to get paid.
Mhm.
And you can say for everybody who's bought a house from me or from my office has signed, and you have to say, the state of Maryland requires that I show this to you before I show you the first house.
Mhm.
And 100% of everybody who's bought a house from me has signed this agreement. So just a great way to take a look at that from a real life perspective. Obviously, we don't want to call, the do not call list is always part of every training session that we do. So that's another aspect of how we do real estate. They want us to, obviously we just did a role play, so I guess that's good in terms of working there. Would anybody like to actually make some phone calls looking for buyers or sellers right now? Or would you just rather just keep going through this and we'll do one more script before we end up today, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, very good. So update contacts and follow up. You know, and this is where you updating, every time you have a conversation with somebody in your database, make sure you update that in command every time. You know, because you're also going to set it up so that once a quarter, it's going to send you a text to remind you to call Jim Smith, who is one of your potential buyers out there. Or maybe you set it up so that once a month you call them because they're getting real close to buying. So you set that up as to how you do it. Yes, Coral, so you got your hand up.
Yes, sir. I have a question as far as calling people. And so I was given a list of, and what I'm trying to get at is about the do not call list. So is that list already known to be not, on the do not call list? Because I did
Every office front desk has a do not call list for that office.
Okay.
So if you're unfamiliar with the do not call list, please talk to your office staff and they will make that usually they have it on a Google Drive that has it out there for you to make sure you don't call. So
Okay.
that's the key part. Now here's the good news. If indeed you get a Facebook lead or you get a Realtor.com lead or an Off City lead, they've already given you permission to call them because they've given us their phone number and email. And even though they may be on the do not call list, they are asking for help and you're only calling them to say, hey, I saw that you're looking to possibly buy a house in the Glen Burnie area. How can I be of help? And if they say, hey, I'm on the do not call list, do not call me, I say, okay, well, I'll let my office know and I'll put your name on the do not call. Would an email be okay? Or obviously phone calls don't work because you're on the do not call.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So just know that's a way to get that done. All right.
Okay, thank you.
So obviously, every day you want to make a successes. And I always recommend that you actually do this the night before. If you know you have a success list of things you have to get done, whether it be calling 3 for sale by owners, maybe 3 expired listings, and then maybe 10 or 15 people off of your phone list just to get your database updated. Because one of the other things you're asking your friends and family is you're not asking them if they're looking to do business. You're asking, who do you know who's looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate that I could call today? So now all of a sudden you're asking them for their database of who they might know of. And if they say, well, I can't think of anybody right now, we'll say, who do you know who might know of somebody who's looking to buy a home or sell a home? And these are scripts that are right in Ignite. So I know that you can find these scripts as part of the process. So no, that's a very good way to increase your database every day. Okay. So while you guys are filling out the code, what script would anybody like to work on right now that I could help them? Is there any particular script that you would like me to work on? If not, it looks like we may have finished 5 minutes early. Go ahead. What was the question? Okay.
Okay, yes. Well, I have been asking friends, family, and my aunt. She wants to buy a home, but she doesn't want to get a pre-approval letter. She doesn't want to sign a buyer's broker's agreement. She just wants to go and look at houses. Not even.
Okay, and that's a normal objective. Let's say she's Aunt Jane. Okay, so all right, Aunt Jane, I understand you don't want to get a pre-approval, but here's what I know about today's market. In today's market, for every listing, every house that's listed, there's an average of between 4 and 8 offers on each house. And of those 4 to 8 offers, every one of them has been pre-qualified or is a cash offer. Do you have cash to buy this house, or are you going to need to get a loan? And if they say you need to get a loan, if I'm the listing agent and I get an offer from an agent and they're looking for a loan and they don't have a pre-qualification letter, me as a listing agent, I throw that offer away. Do you want that to happen to you?
Okay. I guess I want to know, how do you determine whether or not someone's just window shopping, if they're serious, wasting your time? Maybe shopping is like, I can't just drive you around to look at stuff if you're not serious.
I don't have a complete answer for you on that regard. I mean, you just have to know that you have to just speak as honestly and truthful as possible. You say, look, I've talked to numerous agents in my office who are really some of the top listers, and this is what they tell me. They tell me for every listing they get, they're getting between 4 and 8 offers for every property, and they're only considering the ones who are the most complete in regards to being able to buy that house, and the ones who are offering the most money over appraised value. And that's just a great way to make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are you okay? That must have been Galaxy 832. Any other good questions that I can answer for you, or respond to an objection? Okay, well, I thank you tonight for everything. Obviously, I need you to click on the Survey Monkey at the end of this. So I don't think I'm ever going to be into teaching bold or anything, but I always love teaching classes in regards to scripts and value proposition, because it's one of my specialties. And I think as a top listing agent, this is how you get listings. You practice scripts every day, and you work on your value proposition to bring value to a seller or buyer when they're buying or selling a home. And if they can say, hey, I like what you bring to the table, they'll work with you. And it could be something that you just have a passion for. So, think into your heart. And if you can't think of what that passion may be, schedule a meeting with your team leader, schedule a meeting with your coach, and say, hey, I need you to help me work through what I consider my value proposition. Because one of the things that KW does is that we help agents be successful, and we help you identify something that maybe you don't see. We'll ask you questions to help you get there. Okay?
George,
Yes, sir.
one final question from me. My wife and I are brand new and just getting started, and I'm curious if you have any advice as to how somebody like us who are brand new would go about seeking out a coach or a mentor in our local office, the office that we're affiliated with.
Well, typically every office has a tech trainer or somebody. I mean, what office are you with?
We're KWRC Columbia.
In Columbia, Maryland?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, talk to the team leader and say, hey, I just need 10 minutes of your time. You know, what do you recommend? I'm looking for a coach. They might recommend a KW map coach. They may recommend you take some individual classes in regards to like $99 a month type of things to get you started. I mean, there's a variety of different ways to help people in this process to get them as ready as possible and as quick as possible. Because one of the things I know about real estate, if we can't get money in your pocket in the first 6 months, this is not something you're going to do long term. So you have to work with, typically like in our office, we have coaches who also they'll hold you accountable to making phone calls, or they'll hold you accountable to, work on getting appointments, or they'll hold you accountable to following up on leads that they may generate for you. Because every office seems to have an ability to generate leads for new agents. And the agents who actually follow up and follow through are the ones that have the most success. And then start the process of identifying good scripts. And I'll ship to the lady who's running this. I'll make sure I send a copy of some of these scripts to people so that you guys all have them. And I'll do the database script and that for sale by owner script. I'll send you a copy of those 2 pages. Okay.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. I appreciate the conversation today, and I appreciate the feedback on getting everything done today.
Thank you. This was great. Great job.
Thank you. And I actually got back to the screen, which I thought was even a big plus. Technology-wise, sometimes I get a little way behind times, but I figured out a way to make it happen. So good for me.
Good job.
All right, everybody. Thank you
Good night.
very much. And you guys have a great year. And if you ever need to reach out to me, you have the Annapolis phone number. Please don't hesitate to give me a call. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody.
Thank
I'm going to
you.
close.
Thank you.
All right, take it easy.